a weekend full of promise. And on Friday, the car was competitive and quick. However, that didn't translate going into Saturday. On Saturday, the wind rotated, became stronger, and the track temperature came up by 7 degrees. Very small margins, but it looked to impact our car more than others, and we fell away from our competition. Perhaps as significantly, we caused a red flag in Q1 as a result of the engine cover on Alex's car effectively exploding as a result of a tiny crack that initiated. That hindered Carlos. He was on his lap, but the red flag meant he couldn't finish it. And on his next run, he was blocked by Hajar, which cost about 3/10. It meant he was out in Q1, but he had so much promise and pace. With Alex, we put an immense amount of pressure on him and on the pit crew, who did a sterling job of turning that car around in just a few minutes. And on Alex, well done to him. He had just one lap and he made it count, putting that car ultimately through into Q3. Saturday aside, and now looking at Sunday, I think the car was competitive, but Alex fell back at the start and wasn't able to recover as much. We went for a slightly different strategy, with both pushing towards that one stop, which, as you can see, you had to get it just right to make that one stop work. In the case of Carlos starting the hard, he was able to do it. In the case of Alex, it's very marginal, but he would have made it work until we then had the issue with the cooling system that meant that he DNF'd. Now, well done to Carlos. He fought absolutely brilliantly and came back and brought a point for the team. But more so than that, we need to look at the weekend as a whole and realize we didn't get anything close to the most out of it. And that's a combination of reliability, operations, strategy, and just making sure the weekend comes together as a whole, and we have some learning to do. Welcome to the Vowles Verdict, presented by Kraken. It's a great question because I love continuous improvement, but it's not really 2 or 3 things. It really is that you have to incrementally improve 1,000 small details. Trying to answer the question as best I can on the 2 or 3 items. One of those is that we have to get the weekend together cleanly. I think the car performance in Montreal was there and available to us, but we didn't execute it to the maximum ability, and that's a combination of DNFing in the race, and not the first time this year. Combination of an engine cover failing, which is the first time for me, certainly since I've been here, but it's clearly a major fault and a major detail that we need to be looking into. And then just making sure we get everything out of the car in terms of how we run it on track, where we're running on track, and how we get everything out of the race at the same time. And we didn't in Montreal, there's no doubt about that. So the items really to focus on, and we've got 14 races in front of us now, is how do we each race make sure that we're incrementally improving those steps. And it's an investment in our people, investment in our drivers, investment in our team around us at the same time, which is what we'll carry on doing. Lift and coast, put simply, is where you lift off the throttle for a period of time before then pushing the brake pedal into one of the heavier braking zones. And something akin to normally 100 meters, something in that ballpark, maybe 50 meters. And what you're doing is getting a lot of airflow through the brakes, through the cooling system, etc., before you're actually using the brakes to slow the car down. Now, Formula One cars are very draggy. So even though we lift off the brake pedal, you're still getting over 1 G of braking energy, which is more than most road cars can achieve full stop, before you then apply the brakes and maybe go up to 4, even 5.5 G, depending on the circuits. So the reason we're doing this is it actually helps with a number of things. It helps with tire cooling, first and foremost. So it takes energy off the tires and helps with tire surface. It helps with brakes quite significantly. You get a lot of airflow through the brakes before you're using them. As a result of it, you can take some brake energy out. And it also helps with cooling as well, and other systems depending on what we're looking at. So that's the reason for doing lift and coast. And what the drivers are very impressive at doing is modulating what they're doing around the lap. They might do 20 meters in a corner, 30 in another, 100 in another. They might modulate it, in fact, bring their brake temperatures down to then start attacking a car in front in those major braking zones. So they're very impressive on how they're adapting. Absolutely agreed. The team did a brilliant job repairing Alex's engine cover, and I'd also say incredibly well done to Alex. It's an elite athlete under the most impressive pressure who went out and in one lap delivered what he had to. Yes, the short answer is we found the root cause to it. It's a modification done for cooling a few races ago, which just weakened an area of the engine cover. It let in a little bit of air, and as soon as you let in a little bit of air effectively at speed, it can balloon and explode, which is what you saw happening, and a fix is already in place.